Okay, I'm going to start off with something non-wrestling related here today, so bear with me. I'm going to try and keep this short, but in the description to this video, I'm going to post a link to a petition to save the new Thundercats show. Now, the show began last year. It was a 26-episode season. The last episode is airing this Saturday. And unfortunately, we haven't gotten any news regarding when Season 2 is going to be produced and when it's going to come out. And there's talk that the toy line might be canceled. And if the toy line is canceled, that's a very bad sign for the show. So the future of the show is very uncertain. And I've wanted this Thundercats reboot since I was 7 years old. I've wanted a return for Thundercats because I love the original series so much as a kid. And I thought there was room to really expand on it and make it more complex and make it darker and make it more adult. And that's what this show has done. It's clearly made by fans, just like me, people who love the original series, but they found ways to be more creative with the story and, improve the mythology, make the world more creative, make the relationships between the characters more interesting. What they've done with Lion-O and Tiger, I really enjoy, for example. And I do think the show is good enough to deserve concluding, because the original plan, according to the creators, was to do 2 26-episode seasons, and I would like for them to get that second season just to finish up everything that they had planned. And, when I think of all the other shows on Cartoon Network, I mean, and I understand these are kids shows, but some of them are so bad. And I see commercials for them while I watch Thundercats, and they are beyond horrible. The new Green Lantern show is awful. I saw the pilot, and it was abysmal. Adventure Time is clever, and I think it's funny, and if I were a young kid, I would totally see the appeal in that show. And actually, even as an adult, I catch a lot of jokes in there that I think are really good. So Adventure Time is fine, but there are about 10 other shows that are knocking it off and doing it horribly. So they suck. There's this video game show that they do that's awful, and it's live action. I don't know. It's stupid. Whatever it is, it's stupid. The only shows I can think of on Cartoon Network that they're doing that I would either find good or are good, I really like the Clone Wars show. I know a lot of people don't want to give that one a chance because it's prequel Star Wars, but trust me, I think it's pretty good. Take that for what it's worth. I think the new Looney Tunes show is okay. It's not stellar, but it's one of the better Looney Tunes related projects that's been out there in the last 40 years or so. I have not seen Young Justice, but I've heard it's really good. And Thundercats is on the same block, so as Young Justice. So if you watch Young Justice, watch Thundercats. But there aren't a whole lot of good shows on Cartoon Network, and I would like for there to be quality programming for the children out there, in addition to my own selfish needs to want a Thundercats reboot seen to its conclusion. So I am going to post a link to the petition. I, however, am not going to ask anyone to sign it if they have not seen the show, or if they don't like the show. If you don't like the show, don't sign the petition just to, make me happy, or because you feel sorry for me or anything. But, if you don't like it, it's fine. I don't care. I'm not going to be mad at you. But if you haven't seen the show, I would suggest checking out a few episodes to see if you would like it. And if you would like it, to sign the petition and see if you want it to continue. Now, I'm going to post a list of episodes underneath the link to the petition to see a list of episodes that I felt were the best, like my personal favorite episodes from the series so far, so out of the first 25 episodes. And, I'm going to recommend you watch those shows and see what you think. And if you like it and you want to see the show concluded, then go ahead and sign the petition, because when I think back on all the reboots of all the other cartoons I watched as a kid, I think Thundercats is easily one of the best. It's probably on par with the Ninja Turtles reboot, pre-Fast Forward or Flash Forward or whatever that stupid reimagining was. It's better than most versions of G.I. Joe, except maybe Resolute. It's better than pretty much every version of Transformers that's come out since Beast Wars. And even Beast Wars wasn't always stellar. I'm trying to think. The He-Man reboot is way better than that. And He-Man is one that got canceled before that one finished, and some people look back on that as a crime. I think this Thundercat show is twice as good as that He-Man show ever was. So yeah, I would very much like to see Thundercats finish, and hopefully, if I can, create a few new fans from doing this. I've talked to people who are anime fans, and they've told me that they think the show is really good. So if you're into anime, I don't know. I'm not an anime watcher, but if you like anime, there must be something there. If a lot of anime fans are telling me it's really good. I've also been told by a friend of mine who's a fan of the show. He told me, it's like, look, the problem with it is that it's too good for that network. The show's just too good, and that's the problem with it. That's what he says, and that's what he thinks. But I just thought it was really funny. But he also said that it's going to, if it does get canceled, it's going to be one of those shows that gets rediscovered in 5 years, and then people just sit there and wonder, oh, I wonder why this didn't make it. But hey, this is my efforts to try and save Thundercats and try to ensure that we get a second season. So there's a petition. There's a list of episodes I'm recommending that you watch, and hopefully you like it. And I'm done for now, so let's get into the wrestling discussion. Oh no, change of clothes, how'd I do that? Yeah, I'm filming this part of the video right after I've just gotten home from work, so forgive the fancier threads that I'm, making unfancy by the way I'm wearing them. But, yeah, I wanted to center the wrestling discussion around the TNA pay-per-view that happened this weekend, Slammiversary 10, and I have to say, that was one of the best pay-per-views of the year, and it stunned me. Like, I was legit stunned while watching this pay-per-view. Like, I cannot believe I'm enjoying the show as much as I am. This is just an outstanding show. And when it was over, I went on the internet and saw what other people were saying, and saw some of the other reviews here on YouTube, and they pretty much agreed with me, so I'm glad that I'm not the only one. It's not just me. I just, it wasn't like a great, quote-unquote star ratings type of show. It wasn't just one match of the year contender after another. It was just a solidly entertaining, well put together, exciting show with a great atmosphere, with a great crowd. That crowd was stupendous. I mean, that was one of the best crowds TNA's ever had. Maybe the best, just by virtue of the fact that it was their biggest. And it was just exciting and entertaining throughout. It was just just an outstanding show. I was really impressed with most of the whole thing. The opening match between Aries and Joe was very good. It was great. Those of you who are fans of that style of wrestling, you got what you wanted. It was very good. There's not much else to say. Austin Aries, I mean, he's putting on one great match after another. He's just great. God, what else? I really liked the three-way between Hardy, Anderson, and Rob Van Dam. It was just a nice action-packed match, and they fought over something that mattered. They fought over a title shot. Very simple, but it works. So I enjoyed that match. I was a little surprised. Well, I guess I wasn't surprised that Anderson went over, because I was like, well, he's the only one that hasn't faced Rude for the title, so that's probably all the thought that went into that. But, by the way, quick praise of TNA here. I'm glad that they're redoing the Bound for Glory series, because as I said last year, I love that concept. And I'm really glad that based on their description of what they posted on their website for the preview of Impact, and by the way, I'm taping this before Impact. Whether or not it gets posted before Impact, we'll see. But it sounds like they addressed the problems that people had with the Bound for Glory series, so they're making it better. So I'm glad that they're doing it, and I'm glad that they improved it. So that's awesome. But yeah, I enjoyed the three-way. I really liked the way they handled James Storm's return. I thought that was a really cool little moment, and I'm glad that they had him in Crimson's undefeated streak. It kind of put Storm back on the map right away for his return. So that was great. I liked Knockout's match was okay. Garrett Bischoff was terrible, but whatever, that's expected. Cash and Hernandez was an inoffensive filler. That was fine, better than expected. And I have to get into this match. Bully Ray versus Joseph Park. Two things. Number one, Bully Ray is one of the best heels in the business, and he's fantastic. Number two, that match made me respect Chris Parks. Abyss, made me respect him so much as a performer, because he demonstrated such versatility as a character performer for wrestling that, he's fantastic. The way he was able to get that character, okay, he goes from playing Abyss to playing the brother of that character, who is a lawyer, not a wrestler, never been in a fight in his life. So he's a big guy that has to play a guy that's never wrestled a day in his life. And he did so convincingly in a lot of little ways. He couldn't throw a punch right. He couldn't, he had trouble entering the ring through the ropes. He didn't know how to hold a steel chair or swing it. I mean, he looked like a guy who has never wrestled a match before. And in doing that, he also was able to gain sympathy. He was also able to entertain. He was able to get that character across and make the fans cheer for him. And the match itself was so entertaining and so exciting, and they hardly did anything except play two great characters that played off of each other. And that was just brilliant, brilliant storytelling, which is what wrestling's all about. I had a friend text me right after that match, actually, and he said, dude, is it wrong of me to say that they stole the show? But, you know, those more comedy type of matches are not, I mean, this wasn't like a laugh out loud, right, type of comedy. I mean, there was some laughs in it, but, you know, those kind of matches are fine. I have no problem with that. It's fine to see something different once in a while. You know, I think some people, especially in the internet, want every match to be like a Ring of Honor type of affair, style of match, or like a WWE main event where people kick out of finishers left and right. And it doesn't always have to be that way. I think there's room for versatility, and I think there's more than enough room for matches like this, and I thought it was really entertaining. I liked matches like Santino versus Mickey James, where Santino had to wrestle with one arm tied behind his back. If you remember that match, or if you haven't seen that match, go check it out. It is fucking hilarious. Kevin Nash versus the Midget in TNA. Fucking hilarious. You know, I was just reading, apparently, to No Way Out, they just added Santino versus Ricardo. I think that could be a funny match. It could just as well be a disaster, but I think it could be funny. I don't necessarily have a huge problem with it. And so there's room to do those type of matches. It's just a matter of doing them well, doing them with the right characters, and having the right performers in the roles to pull it off. And Bully Ray and Chris Parks did a fantastic job, and I tip my hat to them, because that was just, like I said, I gained a lot more respect for Chris Parks as a performer after that match, because he did so little. He did so much with so little. Actually, a great match to compare it to would be WrestleMania 7. One of my favorite matches on that show was Jake Roberts versus Rick Martel, the blindfold match. Most blindfold matches are terrible. They made it work, and they hardly did anything. It was just you know, Jake pointing and Rick Martel doing pratfalls the whole time, and it worked. I'm just telling you, it worked. So yeah, I really like that match, and Bully Ray and Chris Parks, they deserve a hell of a lot of praise for it, because that could have just as easily been a disaster. So again, obviously love that. The tag title match was fucking amazing, because they were just bouncing all over the place. AJ looked great, Angle looked great, Daniels and Kazarian looked great. It was just a great action-packed match that, you know, it's the type of match I would like to see more of, because you don't get that kind of tag team action regularly anymore. So that match was great, arguably match of the night. And Sting and Rude, what I did like that TNA did, I liked that they put Sting in their Hall of Fame, which I guess you could read between the lines and say that they did it just to snub Vince, or just to, you know, stick it to Vince. We inducted him first, fuck you, type of deal. And you could read into it. Maybe that was the intention. But what I liked about it, and it was also cool to see Christian, by the way, even though he didn't do anything. It was just cool to see a WWE guy appear on a TNA show. Again, like I said in my last video, I love stuff like that. But I like that they did that stuff with Sting, because they added to his legacy throughout the show. And then Rude wins at the end. I really like that. And some people are shitting on the ending. I thought it was fine, because Rude wins, which needed to happen. Rude retains. And Sting beating the crap out of him after the match kind of was like a way to send the fans home happy, without ending Rude's, you know, streak. So I thought it was fine. I didn't have a problem with it. As long as Rude wins, that's all that matters. And the match itself was good. You know, it was serviceable to what they were trying to do. So I had no problems with the match. And overall, I thought Slammiversary was just a really entertaining and fun show. I can't say enough about how good, surprisingly good it was. You know, for all the pay-per-views I've seen this year, I would probably say it's second best of the year behind Extreme Rules. It was that good of a show, and you know, my hats off to TNA for pulling a rabbit out of the hat and just really, you know, bitch slapping me across the face with awesomeness. I did not expect that great of a show out of them, but they did it, and here's hoping they continue to improve from here on out. I mean, Sacrifice last month was good. This show was awesome. Is TNA getting good? I'm getting scared. I can't imagine them getting like consistently good again. But you know, for their 10th anniversary, they really brought their A game, and congratulations to them. They did a great job. Okay, and the final part of this video is going to be me bashing the WWE for something that they did on Raw this week. And I do have to say that Raw this week overall was better than it has been. I'll give them credit for that. It's still wasn't stellar, but it was you know, a step in the right direction towards being better, and it was certainly one of their better shows in a while. I'm not going to be seeing No Way Out this week because not out of spite, but because I'm going to be doing something for Father's Day, so I just won't have time to watch it. All of that said, I really do have to bash WWE for something that they did this week, and they did it last week on SmackDown too. Okay, and I understand that history is written by the winners, but you cannot, I mean, they can, obviously, but, you know, I'm going to call them on their bullshit when they do it. You can't bash WCW and call Vince Russo a scumbag for mocking JR with the Oklahoma character and say that it was in poor taste, which it was. I'm not denying that. That was shameful what WCW did, and that was shameful what Vince Russo did. I hate that character, hate that gimmick. And I love JR. And you know, again, going further back, I think JR, I love him to death. I think he's easy to parody, and I think a JR parody would be funny. But when you start making fun of his Bell's palsy, that's where you descend into bad taste, and it becomes unfunny. And that's where the WCW gimmick failed. So, all right, but they acknowledge that a lot. I've heard them say it on like the Legends Roundtables and a lot of the documentaries and just general comments directed at Vince Russo, how that was just a shameful thing to do and how it was in poor taste and yada yada yada, all that stuff. All right, when you do all that, you can't turn around and then do the exact same thing that Russo did. They have Hornswoggle go out there and make fun of JR. You know, and it's not just a straight up parody. They're making fun of the Bell's palsy, but with the facial expressions. And then they've got Vince McMahon on Raw doing the exact same thing, mocking the facial expressions and making fun of JR's condition, which to me is so mean-spirited and so pointless. Why even do that? Why? And it just bugs me that WWE would go out of their way to bash Russo and WCW for doing something, and then turn right around and do the same thing themselves. Be a star, Vince. And yeah, and I've heard people say that to him over this concept, and it's true. You can't do like an anti-bullying campaign and then turn around and make fun of somebody for having Bell's palsy. That's not cool. You know, and it's very hypocritical of WWE to do something like that, especially after it was already done in wrestling's history. They own the footage of that, and they condemn that company for doing that, and then they just turn right around and do the same thing. I think that's stupid. I think it's in poor taste, but unfortunately, history is written by the winners, so WWE gets a pass on a lot of that stuff. Like, I don't understand how the NWO mocking Arn Anderson's retirement, which I thought was funny, to be perfectly honest, and I thought it was done just to service the storyline. It was just the heels being heels. I didn't think there was anything that wrong with it. And I love Arn Anderson. He was actually my favorite of the Four Horsemen. I love Arn Anderson to death. But, you know, I didn't see anything wrong with that, but that's generally remembered as being just a very distasteful, very disrespectful thing that they did. And, you know what? I remember when DX did blackface. In 1998. You got, you know, 5 or 6 guys doing blackface. Does anybody remember that? I do, and I mean, that wasn't in poor taste. I mean, come on, Vince. But, you know, I just wanted to point that out because I thought it was extremely hypocritical of the WWE, and it wasn't funny. It was in very poor taste. I'm going to keep saying that because it's just the easiest thing to say. And very shameful, and whenever they do stuff like that, I'm certainly going to call them out on it. So, yeah, that's enough for my rant on that. So that's the end of the video for this week. I'll see y'all next week. Hope you all enjoy No Way Out, and I'll see you later.